The Rebel Capitalist Show.
Let's talk about silver. And what I want to think through is how silver is not only a precious metal, but also an industrial metal. And I know there's such a strong argument for copper and EVs. I guess an EV takes like 4 to 5 times the amount of copper. And if we do move towards EVs in the future, there just flat out isn't enough copper right now. There's going to have to be an incredible amount of additional supply, and who knows where that's going to come from. Therefore, price goes up. But how does silver play into a world where that's transitioning into EVs, or a world where Biden is doing a Green New Deal type of thing?
Good questions. With regards to silver, it has two drivers. One is, as you suggest, the industrial driver, because silver is used for a lot of things. It's used for microelectronics. Importantly, you can't have the solar revolution without the reflective properties of silver. Yeah. And what many people don't know is that it's a wonderful germicide. So it's very useful for treating wastewater, as an example. Continued utilization of silver for industrial purposes is important to the silver market, not as important as investment demand. In my experience, I've lived through 2 prior precious metals bull markets, real ones. What you notice is that gold moves first because it moves based on fear. When gold has established the momentum, midway through the bull market, towards the end of the bull market, silver kicks in spades. Historically, and I'm not saying it has to happen this time, historically, when silver moves, it moves much further and much faster. And the assets that are sort of end of cycle crazy movers are the silver equities, because the market capitalization of the high quality silver equities combined is just insufficient to accommodate the inflow of generalist capital when we get into the middle or late stages of precious metals bull market, which I think we're approaching. Copper is an interesting story.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that.
My suspicion would be, without the revolution in electric vehicles, that copper will do extremely well for 2 reasons. The first is that 1.2 billion people in the world have no electricity at all, but they're getting hooked up very, very rapidly. They want to live the way that you and I do, and increasingly some of them can afford it. Right. So separate and apart from vehicles, increasing urbanization, increasing housing standards, people who have the ability to go from from shopping in the market every day, as an example, to having a refrigerator, having light bulbs, all of those things require copper. Electric vehicles are the icing on the cake. You and I think about electric vehicles because we live in the United States and we can afford the transition, if we want to, from an internal combustion engine to an electric engine. It's going to be a very long time before electric vehicles make inroads in places like Bolivia, Zambia, places like that. Yeah. But the truth is that increase in population and the increase in living standards in emerging and frontier markets will be an enormous driver for copper. The second driver for copper is that society has underinvested in copper exploration, copper development, and copper production for 3 decades. And part of the increase in the copper price that I think you're going to see is a consequence not so much of demand creation, but rather supply destruction. We are living off deposits that were discovered 30 years ago, permitted and built 20 years ago. And as you know, every day that you mine a mine, your business gets smaller. You can't pour water and fertilizer and have that hole grow more copper. It doesn't work like that. Increasingly, you have permitting delays, around the world in the copper business. There's a very nice copper deposit in the United States called Resolution. Billion-ton deposit. It's been known about for 20 years. It will probably be 10 or 12 years in the permitting phase and may never actually ever be permitted. Then you need to put up $6 or $7 billion to build it. It'll take some time to do that. So the ability that the market has to create incremental supply to meet the increased demand is something that society would have had to begin to address 10 or 12 years ago. I am personally believing, although it looks like I may be wrong, that we're due for a little bit of an economic slowdown. Uh, I'm always, whenever I see an economy funded by artificial liquidity and debt, I'm always afraid. I joke I've called accurately 17 of the last 3 declines. So it wouldn't surprise me to see the economy slow down a little bit and the copper price slow down a little bit too. But if you're looking out 4 or 5 years, simply the ascent of mankind, given the inability of the mining industry to radically increase copper supplies, means, I think, that we're going to have higher copper prices than people think looking out 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, that's the struggle I think what a lot of my viewers have is they're really bullish on copper, but they see how much the price has run, and they're like, man, should I really chase it here, or should I wait for a pullback? That's always kind of the internal debate in their mind.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah.
The whole sort of reflation trade is something I'm very afraid of. I thought, and in fact, I said on your show 7 or 8 months ago, that the oil market was an absolute no-brainer at $20 or $30 a barrel. I just thought it would take 3 years. I didn't realize it would take 4 months to have that trade go from $30 a barrel to $65 or $70 a barrel. And my own belief is that we run some risk as investors and as citizens to believe that the economy can recover without digesting the impact of a 10-year bull market that we enjoyed in the 2009 to 2019 timeframe. That's a very, very, very long recovery. Or before we factor in the structural damage done to the economy by the COVID-19 virus. It could be that all of us want recovery so badly that we manage to maintain our confidence, even though that confidence is generated mostly by liquidity.
You're right.
I'm cautious about all this, George. I understand myself intuitively, because I'm an old man, that there is a difference between the words liquidity and solvency in the English language. And an economy that is moving because it's liquid rather than because it's solvent is one that scares me. I've seen it happen before, and I've gotten it wrong before. So it'll be interesting to watch it play out.